Welcome everyone to the Richmond Valley Council Extraordinary Council meeting. This being the first meeting of this term, I welcome everyone, all the councillors, previous councillors back, and the two new councillors. And congratulations everyone on being elected, and I'll have more to say at our first ordinary meeting in February. So we'll get on with the meeting. I'll open it with the acknowledgement of country. Richmond Valley Council recognises the people of the Bundjalung Nation as custodians and traditional owners of this land, and we value and appreciate the continual cultural connection to lands, their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region in the past, present and future. Mr General Manager, could you read the prayer, please?
Dear Lord, we meet to serve our Richmond Valley community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, and to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognise our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Amen. Councillors are all present, so there's no apologies. Declaration of interest. Has any councillor got a declaration of interest, or staff? Mr General Manager, have you received any?
No declarations received.
We'll move on now to page 6, 5.1. General Manager's reports, oath of affirmation and office by councillors. I'll get a recommendation, please, to start with. Councillor Morrissey.
Second.
Councillor Cornish. Mr General Manager, do you want to put that motion, or do you want to do it and then adopt it? Do it now. Any speakers on that? Councillor Morrissey? Councillor Cornish? Any other councillors? I'll put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried, unanimous. Mr General Manager, I'll hand over to you to organise the councillors.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. So there is a requirement for each of you to take either an oath or an affirmation, as is set out in the report in front of you. So our plan is for you to stand at the lectern. For those taking the oath, there is a Bible available if you so choose to do that, and obviously and the oath or affirmation is available as well. So we might just do that in turn. So we may start off with the Mayor. If the Mayor wants to do that, just required to go through the oath or the affirmation. So that, and it's important for us to record that in the minutes for tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Right. I, Councillor Robert Mustoe, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the Richmond Valley community and the Richmond Valley, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretion vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you. We might just go around the horseshoe, so we may start with Councillor McGillen.
Okay, I'm very nervous. Okay. I, Councillor Deborah J. McGillen, I swear that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interest of the people of the Richmond Valley community and the Richmond Valley Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act of 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McGillen. Well done. Councillor Cornish.
I, Councillor Sam Cornish, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Richmond Valley community and Richmond Valley Council, and I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thanks, Councillor Cornish. Councillor Hayes.
I, Councillor Robert Hayes, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the Richmond Valley community and the Richmond Valley Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hayes. Councillor Deegan.
I, Councillor Patrick Deegan, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I'll undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the Richmond Valley community, the Richmond Valley Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thanks, Councillor Deegan. Councillor Humphries.
I, Councillor Sandra Duncan Humphries, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Richmond Valley community and Richmond Valley Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Humphries. And Councillor Morrissey.
I, Councillor Steve Morrissey, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Richmond Valley community and Richmond Valley Council, and I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thanks, Councillor Morrissey. Thanks, councillors. That concludes that item. I'll hand back to Mr Mayor.
Councillors, page 8, 5.2, election of Deputy Mayor. There is a recommendation there. Could I get a mover, please?
Move the recommendation.
Councillor Humphrey, seconder.
Second.
Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Humphries, did you want to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey, seconder. Any other councillors? No, I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried, unanimous. I will now ask the General Manager to conduct the election as a returning officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. For the election of Deputy Mayor, so you obviously all given the opportunity to consider nominating, and I've received at this stage one nomination, and that is for Councillor Steve Morrissey, nominated by Councillor Duncan Humphries and Councillor Cornish, and Councillor Morrissey has agreed. So that's a valid nomination. Is there any other nominations from the floor? As there are no other nominations, I will declare Councillor Morrissey Deputy Mayor. Congratulations.
Sorry, 5.3 on page 11. Mayoral delegations, and there is a recommendation on that page. Could I get a mover, please?
Move, Mr Mayor.
Second.
Councillor Hayes, second. Councillor Morrissey, you want to speak? Councillor Hayes? No? Look, I will say about the $20,000 mayoral allowance, that would only be in extreme circumstances. The majority of time, if there is an emergency, it's usually an operational issue and comes out of the general manager allocates those funds towards that, and then it would be adjusted at a quarter review. So I've never had to use that, and I can't recall any mayor, maybe on one occasion when there was a severe storm many years ago, but I just wanted to let you know that it's just there for a really safety purpose. So, right of reply, Councillor Morrissey?
No, this, Mr Mayor.
I'll put that motion, and all those in favour? Carried, unanimous. Page 13, 5.4. There is a recommendation there. I'll get a mover, please.
Move.
Councillor Cornish.
Second.
Morrissey. Councillor Cornish. Would you like to speak to it? Councillor Morrissey. Any other councillor like to speak?
Yeah, question on the Internal Audit and Risk Committee. Can someone please explain to us what the new requirements are?
Mr General Manager.
I'm happy for Director Gator to give us an update and overview on that. It's in his area.
Director Gator.
At this point in time, Councillor Hayes, we don't really know. We're still waiting for the final decision to come out of the OLG on what we're going to have to do. So I think from memory, we have to have it appointed by 30 June. So yeah, I think all councillors are in the same. All councillors are in the same boat. We're all waiting to hear. We're going to continue to do our internal audits at this point in time. At the first internal audit meeting, probably we'll have a couple of reports going up to it because at this point, yeah, we don't know how it's going to move forward. It won't be what we have now with all councillors on the committee. There'll be independents, but at this stage, we don't know how that's going to be made up.
Thank you.
We will bring a briefing note to an information session once those requirements are clear, so that you can be briefed on that and understand what the makeup of the next Internal Audit and Risk Committee will be.
Mr General Manager, on page 14, the Richmond Valley Council Local Traffic Committee, how often does that meet?
It really meets on an as-needs basis. Often the work of that committee is done via email meetings. Obviously through the COVID period it actually hasn't met in person, but we are obviously, with the spread of people involved on that committee, we tend to either use online meetings or just email reports for any matters that need to be dealt with. So I think at a maximum, potentially a quarterly meeting. However, it may be less than that, depending on the issues that committee needs to consider, and then the outcomes of those meetings are then reported through to a council meeting.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Councillor Cornish, did you want to write a reply? So some of those other committees you will call for nominations? Okay, thank you. I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. It's unanimous. Mr General Manager, I'll hand over you now to the returning officer for these next series of elections, please. Thank you.
Okay, so the first election that we will deal with are the two delegates that we have to appoint to the Rouse County Council Board. So we'll deal with that one initially. So what I've received, and again, you'll receive the nomination paper as part of the business papers. I have received at this stage 2 nominations. So the first nomination is Councillor Duncan Humphreys, and it was proposed by Councillor Morrissey and Councillor Hayes, and it was obviously agreed to by Councillor Duncan Humphreys. And the second nomination that I've received is for Councillor Mustoe, nominated by Councillor McGillen and Councillor Deegan, and again Councillor Mustoe has obviously consented to that nomination. So I've got those 2 nominations. I'll just open it up to the floor if there was any other nominations. That not being the case, I will declare that Councillor Duncan Humphreys and Councillor Mustoe are appointed as Richmond Valley Council's delegates to Rouse County Council for this elected term. So congratulations, and I'm sure you'll do a good job in advocating for the interests of the Richmond Valley community.
Thank you, councillors, and as you all know, water is a very vital issue for our community, and there's a couple of strategies that are happening, and as delegates we will keep you, or I will, and I'm sure Councillor Humphreys will, well up to date of any occurrence for our community in the future. So thank you once again for your support.
Can I ask you a question? If
It's a bit early, I haven't had a meeting there yet.
well, you might want to. If, when you get to the meeting and the nominations for the chair of that organisation's come up, are you both willing to accept a nomination if you're nominated for the position of chair?
Oh, that's, we'll just wait and see who gets on the Rouse. That's a little bit crystal balling. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the second committee that we need to have a councillor appointed to, and that is the Richmond Valley Council Local Traffic Committee. As I sort of outlined what that commitment requires, obviously our staff support the councillor who would be in that role. Our staff convene that committee, and it has representatives from outside agencies, including the police and Transport for New South Wales and our local members' office. So it's the opportunity for a councillor to be involved in those decisions where there are requirements for certain decisions to go to the local traffic committee. So really just, we didn't go through the same sort of formal nomination process, but really just open it up to the floor for any councillor who has interest in being our representative on that committee.
Do you want us to nominate someone, or?
Yeah, I think it's if there's multiple people, we can hold an election for that, or you may choose for you may decide that we do that for a 12-month period, and then have an opportunity for another councillor to be part of that committee. This one's really, I suppose, open for your views on the best setup to have someone represent us on this committee.
I don't know if Councillor Cornish is interested. He was a past delegate, I believe. Is that correct? And reports always come to council. So, but if he's interested, he may not be. So.
That's correct. I'm happy to continue, provided there's. I'm concerned of possible perceived conflict of interest given my career. But I mean, yeah. If not, I'm happy to continue, but if not, I'm happy to vacate that position.
It's probably a valid consideration given that local police are a representative of the traffic committee, so I think it's a fair point that Councillor Cornish has raised. There may be at times a perception of that, so that's something that Councillor Cornish would have to manage. So it's a matter of whether any other councillors are interested in being on that committee.
I'd be happy to take it on for the first 12 months if we want to do it on a 12-monthly basis.
Any other councillors
Anyone else? So happy to proceed on that basis. Councillor Hayes, represent council on the traffic committee for the next 12 months. Yep. Okay. So Councillor Hayes can be our representative on the traffic committee for 12 months, and we'll bring that back to the February meeting of 2023. Thanks, Councillor Hayes.
Thank you.
And the final one that we need a representative for is Arts Northern Rivers, which we have had councillors as representatives on Arts Northern Rivers. We have also had alternates in place where that is a council staff member, generally obviously with an interest in the arts, or their role has a link with the arts. So again, it's an opportunity for a councillor to have some experience in those forums outside of council. So again, just an opportunity if someone would like to nominate or put their hand up to represent Richmond Valley Council on that Arts Northern Rivers board. We can have the option, if no councillor was, I suppose, in a position to do that, we can have staff members represent council, and obviously they report back to council on any matters where we need to.
I'd like to nominate Patrick for that position.
Okay. You happy to take on that role, Patrick?
Yeah, it sounds quite interesting. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll appoint Councillor Deegan to Arts Northern Rivers. Do we want to do that for the term of this council, or do you do, or for a 12-month period? Is any views either way? We can. Sorry. Okay. I've just been advised that the Constitution requires a full term, so are you prepared to take on the full term?
Yeah.
The decision's made for you. So thanks, Councillor Deegan. I'm sure you'll represent the Richmond Valley well with Arts Northern Rivers. They've done some really good things. Obviously, their most recent project was out at Rattville, getting some programs happening out there. So a good organisation for us to support. So thanks and congratulations. The only other parts of that resolution which you've made is obviously the Mayor's continues on as a representative, as all mayors do, on the Northern Rivers Joint Organisation Board. That first meeting for the joint organisation, I think, is potentially late this month, early next month, where a new chair will be elected. And as we've already talked about, the Internal Audit and Risk Committee will bring a briefing back to you. So that concludes this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillors, page 16, 5.5, Councillor meetings, ordinary meeting day and time. There is a recommendation there. Could I get someone to move, please, a recommendation? Councillor Humphreys.
Move the recommendation with the change to number 1 from 5 p.m. till 6 p.m.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor McGillen? I'll get it, don't worry. Councillor Humphreys.
Thank you. I have no comment. I just think that that's appropriate when it's a requirement or it assists another councillor or councillors.
As seconder, Councillor McGillen? No? Any other councillors? Right of reply, councillor. I'll put that motion and all those in favour. Carried. Page 18, 5.6, count back elections. Motion there.
I'd like to change the recommendation, if I can, please. Number 1, pursuant to the section 291A of the Local Government Act 1993, the Act of Richmond Valley Council declares that the casual vacancies occurring in the office of councillor within 18 months after the last ordinary election of councillors for the council on the 4th of December 2021 are not to be filled by countback of votes cast at the election for the office in accordance with section 291A of the Act.
So you're adding into there that they not be
Not
filled
be filled.
by a countback. So councillors, everyone understand that recommendation? I trust that part 2 will be also included in the
Part 2 as written.
Could I get a seconder, please? Councillor Humphries?
Second that, with a question?
Yes.
Is it appropriate to ask a question? The report refers to the short term of the term, the new section, the S2, the 291A, and a resolution must be passed at the first meeting, i.e. this meeting. Is that all only applicable to a short term, or is that going to be the new norm?
Mr. General Manager?
Yeah. No, it's the new norm. Yep.
Thank
So
you.
it would have this would have been brought. It's a new requirement,
Yes.
and it would have been brought in the normal course of events. So if it was a 4-year term, we would still be required to deal with this matter. This is the first time that this has had to be brought to a meeting for a resolution. The option has been there, but it's if the circumstance arose, it would then require that a council consider the matter and make a resolution, whereas they're now requiring that all councils consider this at the start of the term so that it's in place, either in place or it's not in place, should that situation arise.
Thank you. And so that answers another query I had on the next page, page 19, about when council, like the second dot point, it says within the remaining 15 months of office, council could choose to hold a by-election. So council would just refer to that and decide on that should an event arise.
Correct. Yes, this circumstance is available in this next term, the first 15 months. Because there's another requirement in the Act about the last 18 months of office. So, yeah, the short term has some idiosyncrasies.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Hayes, as the mover.
As the mover, I've brought this up because I think that the way the elections run, a lot of the people voted above the line, and I think it wasn't their choice to have the next one off the that missed out an election included in council, and I think they need to be given a democratic right to re-vote if that situation arises. So, it's pretty outstanding the votes that were above the line, and a large percentage of them, the votes that they voted above the line did not include the next candidate in those preferences. So I think they need a choice to choose who fills the seat, and this is the only way we can do it.
Councillor, as seconder, would you like to speak?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I do agree that the countback would be efficient and economical, and I expect that a percentage of the people would agree to that choice based on cost savings. And in part, I actually feel like councillors have been placed between a rock and a hard place, being asked to make this decision. I kind of, in a way, I thought that if it's a section of the Act, if the people who put that section together, if surely they could make a ruling, just make a ruling on it, and that could be the ruling. However, it comes to council, and I've given it quite a bit of thought. I feel that should the vacancy occur due to a loss or an illness, because we live in a close-knit community, the loss of a community leader can be a shock, and it can affect many people, and the process of the by-election may be part of a healing process, as people have the opportunity to cast a vote to replace a person that they originally voted for. There is a risk by a countback that the candidate could have little or no similarities to that person. In any circumstance, I feel that it's likely that the community would welcome the opportunity to vote for a candidate with similar values and qualities as the person, the councillor vacating the seat. Whilst a few feel like going to the polls is a nuisance, to the majority, I believe they feel it is their democratic right. So I will be supporting the recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Deegan.
Yeah, so
Just got a question. If it did go to the by-election option, what would be the cost to ratepayers approximately?
Mr General Manager?
Councillor Deegan, we don't have those figures to hand. So no, apologies, I can't give you a definitive answer, and I'm hesitant to put a sort of ballpark figure on it. The election itself cost us, was it 180 or something?
Yeah, closer to.
The election itself is expected to cost us in the vicinity of 150,000, but that's a full election. Obviously, there are some options now with iVote. So, look, I'm guessing, but it would be, I'd suggest, in the range of 20 to 50,000. But we would need to ask that question to be definitive.
That answer your question, Councillor?
Yes, thanks.
Is there any other speakers? Councillors, I've looked at this and thought it over and done a bit of research and also a lot of thinking into the past. So I really think this alteration of the Act has anomalies and inconsistencies in it. When I read a few of them, and one is that this method cannot, it says on page 18, that this method cannot be used to fill a vacancy for a properly elected mayor, and I can't understand that because a councillor and a mayor are both democratic elections. So why for one and not for the other? I just don't get that. I know the mayor is one person, but I still think that it applies that it's still an election. The other one is where the losing mayor could, on a countback, be a new mayor could be elected. Yeah, I just think it's wrong. On page 30 of the candidate handbook for the 21 local government elections, it states, death of a candidate. If a candidate for mayor or councillor dies between when they are nominated as a candidate by the returning officer under clause 295 of the local government general regulation and 6 p.m. on election day, so that would have been the 4th of December, the election fails for that position and a new election in that council or ward, as applicable, will be held at a later date. So I can't understand that. I just think that what's the difference? The election on that election day would have been completed. Why isn't the vote count used the preferential system, which is the case with the countback? So they're saying if that occurs, there's a new election to occur. So, and the way I read is if some candidates do not wish to be included in the countback, they are excluded. So a councillor with a very, very small vote could be elected, and I don't think this is a good outcome for the community or a democracy. So I've witnessed 3 by-elections over the years, and on every occasion a new councillor has been elected who has not stood at the previous election, and on some of those there had been previous candidates in that election, but they were not elected. So I just think the people have their say, and it's not always what the past was there. And I believe every community member should have the opportunity to nominate, as the vacancy may have come from a councillor, who they have voted for and supported. And I think, you know, if we all have our own supporters, and if something happened to us and we couldn't, I think those people might say, well, I supported them, I'm going to put my hand up now. And I think that's more democratically for our community. And I know it comes at a cost, but I'm sure that in quarterly budget reviews and other ways that money could be found. And we always try to run a small surplus, and if that needed to be, but in saying that, what cost is democracy? And also, I'm pretty sure that we'll all be sitting here at the end of this term. Let's hope so. All right? So that's my opinion anyway. So, any other speakers?
We've only got to last 15 months, not the full term.
Any other speakers? Councillor Hayes, right of reply.
All's been covered, thank you.
I'll put that motion in. All those in favour? Unanimous? Thank you. Mr General Manager, you'll get that off to the Electoral Commission within the time frame, 7 days. Thank you.
Certainly will.
Page 20, General Business, Draft Community Engagement Strategy. We have a recommendation. Could I get a mover, please?
Move.
Councillor Morrissey. And the seconder is Councillor Cornish. Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Cornish.
Nothing really, obviously, other than that it's a requirement, but I think looking back on the last council term, 2016, 2017, when we travelled around to all the villages and towns and listened to what the community wanted, I feel we've delivered quite well on. It's a great tool, I think. It gives council quite a clear direction on what the community want, and I believe that we delivered mostly on what the community requested, and hopefully we can continue to do the same.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Humphries.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. I agree with Councillor Cornish. It's a really helpful tool. What I love the most, I've got a few orange ticks throughout it, but what I love the most is the name, Our Big Conversation 2021-22. I love how contemporary Richmond Valley Council has become. It's emerged into this very exciting communicator. And I guess that's why we've picked up that we really do need to stay in touch with the young people too. That's one of our objectives here is to have more engagement with the youth. So I really I look forward to doing that, having that occur. Thank you. Oh, and thanks so much for Kenny's photo. Isn't he gorgeous? Thank you.
Any other speakers? Councillors, you all have the attachment there, which is the strategy, community engagement strategy, the draft, sorry. And I look forward to going out to the community in coming months and getting their views on where Richmond Valley should be heading and what our projects should be, and getting some guidance from them, and working with our community to come up with a good strategic plan for the next 10 years. So. Any other speakers? Councillor Morrissey, right of reply?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried, unanimous. No further business, Mr General Manager. I will declare the meeting closed. Thank you everyone for your attendance, and thank you for those out there watching on Zoom, and everyone have a safe trip home. And thank you gallery for attending, and staff. I'll just get the council to give us, we just want to talk to two quick items.